thank you and welcome to the Living Consciously TV show, coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and our theme today is, what is the healing power that transcends the limitations of human ability and our imagination? And our guest today, I'm just honored to introduce Dr. Eric Pearl. He is the founder of The Reconnection, and he's also the author of the book, The Reconnection of the Heal Others and Heal Yourself, that's been translated to 36 languages. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. And our guest today happens to be Jamie Lerner. And Jamie is from Chicago normally on our show, but today she's here with us, so welcome to the show. She's part of our Self-Evolution cast.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
And also joining us from a faraway place called Australia, Lynda Dyer. And Lynda is from Down Under. And we also have, she's also part of our Self-Evolution cast, and we also have Tori Kaczynski, and he is joining us, I think, from New York, but he could be from somewhere else. You never know. Where are you right now?
I'm in New York right now.
All right, good. I was a good guess. I must be connected. So Tori, Tori is also part of our Self-Evolution cast, and that's pretty much who we're going to have on the show today. So welcome again, and welcome everybody here. And my first question to you is, I want to make sure that our viewers know, what is this thing called the reconnection?
The reconnection and reconnective healing is a way of us reconnecting with our original fullness, the truth, the essence of who and what we are, what we tend to experience in between lifetimes, but bringing that consciousness, that presence, that love here on earth into an expanded existence for us. An existence which, on one hand, is reconnecting with the fullness, the truth, the essence of who and what we are, and yet on the other hand, continues to expand because we're reconnecting with an ever-expanding self.
Great. I recall, actually I have evidence from my grandkids that they have this thing that you're talking about. They are connected to something that most of humanity forgets about. Would you like to expand on that, what I mean by that?
Children, the younger they are, pretty much all children, come in with an awareness of the truth of who they are on the other side. And then a combination of things occur. They gradually forget, and just in case they don't, we beat it out of them. Now, our purpose here in life is to consciously choose to reconnect. So much as we love our children and our grandchildren and want to say they're already reconnected, in actuality that's not the case, because if it were, it would be cheating them out of the ability to, once we have forgotten certain aspects of ourselves, to choose to remember or rejoin or reconnect with that. As a matter of fact, something interesting that I noticed is that you could say that religions were some of our early attempts to reconnect with that fullness. And if you look at the Latin basis for religion, to religate, it means to reconnect, which is something that I just accidentally came upon.
Okay, awesome. Well, I was involved in different religions, but I kind of gave it up because I feel that humans do something to religion that I prefer not to be involved in anymore.
Yeah, they create religion. And the reality of it is that, well, there's religion and there's the spirituality that may have inspired religion, and then there are the other things that inspired the control of religion. I view our various religions as windows out onto God, out onto love, out onto the universe. And we often grow up looking out of the same window that our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents looked out of. And one religion, one window might show a synagogue, one a church, one a mosque, one a river or a beach or a palm tree. And we hear that somebody else says, no, the window, because we only know of one, shows this. And they go, no, the window shows that. And we argue over whose window is right because we're afraid that our entire family lineage might otherwise be wrong, which leads to separation, better than, worse than, argumentation, conflict, war. But then maybe we meet someone who's not so challenging to us, and we really appreciate that person, and we get brave enough to look out of their window, and we see there are two different scenes. We understand a little more. But even if we study religions, even if we go into theology, we look out of this window and this window and this window, and see out of every window, we still won't gain the full picture because each window is limited by the window frame. And it's further limiting the view by the wall that supports the window frame, that supports the glass. Only once we're really, I believe, all willing to walk outside, maybe go up on the roof, join hands and have a party, can we see 360 degrees in all directions. Who is the one person at the party who can't see 360 degrees in all directions? It's the person who joins the party bringing with them part of their broken window frame. They're the only one who can't see the whole picture, and they're the only one who doesn't recognize that they can't see the whole picture because they're behind the window frame.
Interesting. So what I'm noticing in my body right now, that there's vibration that I'm feeling, and that you're becoming more clear and more clear. Like your body is becoming, and your face is becoming more and more clear to me. What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Well, we all eventually outgrow our childhood acne. Truth chooses and desires to become more clear. You could view it in the way of the illusions tend to vanish. Time, for example, is an illusion. Mm-hmm. We've been told and taught that we exist in a four-dimensional world comprised of height, width, depth, and time. And we've been existing within our illusion. We have chosen to exist within the illusion of time. So in quantum physics, oftentimes they illustrate this as a bubble. They say, here's our little bubble or balloon of existence in this huge, vast, endless, multidimensional universe. Height, width, depth, and time comprises the actual cell or the wall, whatever we want to call it, the balloon. Mm. Everything inside here has been energy. And we've even limited our healing capacity by functioning on or focusing on the energy. We've focused in on a subset of the energy here or here or here, just like we've looked at our various windows of the religions. We've given names to these subsets or subportions. We've called one Reiki, one Qigong, one Jorei, one Jinshin, one XYZ, Alpha, Beta, Delta, Gamma, Quantum this, Mattress that, all these different names.
You forgot NLP.
No, actually, I didn't name anything. They just sounded similar. Now, let's say, for instance, that this is how we've accessed energy. We have two gifts for expansion. One gift we've had all along, and that's been the ability to remove the training wheels from the bicycle, to remove the training wheels, the techniques. And once we let them go, it's like leaving the windows behind, accessing the entirety of energy. Only once we allow ourselves that insight, and this is not a new insight, the masters have been telling us this all the time. It's our teachers that keep us involved in the energy healing techniques, while the masters say the true gift of the technique comes only once you transcend it. The teachers say learn more complexity, pay me year after year after year, I'll hold your chair. And the masters say, don't come back, I need that chair, because there's always the new student as long as there's truth to be taught. And so once we transcend that, we access the entirety of energy that's been within our balloon or bubble of existence. That's what leads us to the new gift. It's a new gift that we haven't had access to before because, as the quantum physicists explain, time is moving faster. Not just from point A to point B, but time is moving faster in all directions at once. So time is expanding, time is opening up. Our balloon is expanding and opening up. So visualize a balloon or a bubble, and we continue to pump it filled with more and more air or oxygen or helium. As the balloon expands, it actually becomes thinner, becomes more permeable. It allows what's inside to move out and interact and exchange with what's been outside as that moves in. And suddenly what's been outside of time, so it's been timeless, it's not old because it hasn't been within time, is able to enter here for the first time, so it's relatively new here. In other words, the illusion of time is actually disappearing. It's disappearing for us. And we're allowing ourselves to access and move beyond the energy, the little subsets of energy we've treasured so much, we have our little certificates saying we've mastered, beyond the entirety of energy, and into a spectrum of light and information that many of the scientists feel they've never witnessed here before. Light that doesn't just vibrate at a higher rate, but a more harmonic, coherent level, which many people associate and research with the reason that, unlike energy healing that we've had up until now, reconnective healings tend to be so fairly instantaneous and tend to be life-lasting.
Great. So I'm just guessing, but it's probably a good guess, that you must repeat yourself a lot.
I must what?
Repeat yourself a lot.
Sorry?
Do you ever repeat yourself a lot? And because a lot of people out there, thousands, millions of people could maybe hear you for the first time. And this is how I feel, that I keep doing a lot of shows, and sometimes it's the same subject matter, but it's maybe a different title, but it's really the same thing. I'm basically having shows about consciousness and evolution, which is what your work is all about. So when you're talking about healing ourselves, like for example, I don't know if I can heal somebody until I know how to heal myself. Is that accurate, even?
I don't necessarily agree with that. I believe it's an ongoing process for us to discover our own healing. But if we wait until we've healed ourselves to heal others, well, we're going to wait until we just say goodbye to this lifetime and miss our opportunity.
So, do you believe we're all broken?
No, because
And
I
what
don't
is
view
healing?
healing the way we're talking about it yet.
Because I think a lot of people listening to this might be confused.
I wouldn't say so much as we're confused as we've been operating on the concept of healing so far on one level. I don't believe that healing is simply about the regaining the use of an arm or a leg or a liver or a kidney. It's about our evolution, but something needs to attract our attention. If you're walking down the street, at least here in the U.S., you've got a good chance of passing a Mrs. Fields cookies. Now, how do you know you're passing a Mrs. Fields cookies? Because they have a little fan inside that blows the white chocolate macadamia nut out, grabs you by the nose, pulls you in. You get inside and you find out there's more than just white chocolate macadamia nut cookies. Reconnective healing showed up in the form of physical healings, dramatic physical healings. People regaining the use of arms, legs, cancers being reported as vanishing, children with cerebral palsy and epilepsy suddenly able to walk and run and play and speak normally, not have seizures, not need medications. I mean, these were dramatic healings. It's not, gee, my boo-boo went away. And we thought, because these healings were so grand, that this was the big deal, reconnective healing. But it's really just the scent, the aroma of the cookie. What we know, for instance, today is there are already 6 international studies confirming that reconnective healing, the frequencies, actually restructures, or as I like to say, reconnects our very DNA, changing the light levels that we emit to more coherency, or more coherence, whatever the word should be.
Changes the frequency that we vibrate at?
Makes it a more coherent frequency. What's coherence in light? Okay, fluorescent light bulbs would put off jerky light signals. Well, that's why most offices today don't use them. They gave people headaches, they changed women's menstrual cycles, they took away our focus, all sorts of things. Incandescent light bulbs are more coherent. Sun is very naturally coherent. It's a harmonic coming together.
But isn't it different for everybody? Doesn't everybody resonate at a different frequency?
Well, within variation, yes. Now, there was a time not too long ago where the concept of us being light was purely a metaphysical or spiritual concept. It wasn't really until recently, with the work of Dr. Fritz Alan Popp, and now the others continuing his work, that we discovered that the DNA in each of our cells actually does emit light. The general understanding around this today is that there is an optimal light level, different for human beings than cows or donkeys or goldfish. And when our light is dimming, our health is actually diminishing. When our health is coming back up, that light is coming back up. Now we're starting to discover, and so everyone is somewhere in that spectrum. Of course, everyone's somewhere in that spectrum. Now we're starting to recognize a new role of coherence. So when we interact with the reconnective healing frequencies, this more coherent light that appears tends to serve really somewhere in between what you could call as a reminder, not a reminder of the past, but a reminder of, in between lifetimes, that vibration, and an inspiration. It inspires us to return to that optimal level. Now, what are some of the roles of light? They can get complex. We can try and simplify them. For instance, we know most things with time, age, and breakdown. This book will turn to dust eventually. What we know is that in a system, the more speed in a system, the more rapidly things deteriorate and turn to dust, up to the speed of light. But what we know from Dr. William Tiller, for example, Professor Emeritus from Stanford University, who's published maybe 350 papers, a dozen or so books, he's famous for, among other things, what's called the Tiller-Einstein model of negative entropy, which sounds complicated. It's not really. Tiller means William Tiller. Einstein means Albert Einstein. And negative entropy means the opposite of entropy. What's entropy? The tendency to break down, degenerate, move into disorganization. So the opposite of it is reorganization. In other words, what he discovered is once we hit the speed of light, disorganization becomes reorganization, degeneration becomes regeneration, dis-ease becomes healing or ease. So with these higher levels of light, the healing and the ease tends to return more rapidly. It changes the way, well, our bodies don't heal the way we were taught. We were taught that our bodies healed through the biochemical model. We know today that's obsolete. That's dead, that model. We know that biochemistry couldn't explain, the biochemical model couldn't explain how something could happen to one part of your body and immediately have an effect on another part of your body. Light and the wave concept helps us understand that today. Our bodies heal through frequency, light, vibration, resonance, entrainment, informational exchange. Our brains don't work the way we were taught. Remember, we'd see the old model of the brain sitting on the professor's desk with circles over different areas of the brain saying, here's speech, here's memory, here's language, here's this, here's that. We know today from the work of doctors Carl Pribram and Carl Ashley and others that that model is also obsolete. We know that these aspects of function are not sitting around in little sequestered areas. They are diffused throughout the brain, and they're not just within the brain. We recognize today that thought is not within the brain. The brain is actually a transducer for a larger field of thought, referred to in science today as zero-point field, that is so comprehensive that we can't comprehend it all at once. So the brain transduces it down into little bite-size portions that we can understand or we can interpret. So let's look at this for a minute. Think of a computer. Everyone's pretty much familiar with a computer today. What is it? It's a metal image. It's a metal box. Doesn't do anything by itself until you install a software program. Once you install a software program, you get information out of that computer. And you can access that internet field out there somewhere. Upgrade the software, more information from within, better access to that field. What, if you will, for a moment, if our brains are our hardware? What if our DNA, as we tend to understand it today, is our software? what if these 6 studies confirmations so far are accurate, as they are posited to be? That we are restructuring the DNA, raising the light emissions. Then what's happening in the reconnective healing spectrum as we experience that, and as we share that with one another in the field, is that we are facilitating a human software upgrade, which then inherently allows for better access to the information within, better access to that multidimensional 0-point field out there somewhere. And since we go where our attention goes, as we become more multidimensionally aware, we're truly becoming more multidimensional people. This is our precipice moment of stepping into the next level of human evolution. And the physical healings, one tiny little part, the scent of one cookie.
Interesting.
Yeah, great. Well, does the human being need to be an awake and conscious in order to be connected to this conversation?
How do you mean awake and conscious?
Well, I'm finding that since I've been doing this work for over 10 years, and I've done over 14,000 shows, that people that are really not, and this is not a judgment, but people that are not awake and conscious, meaning that they're not able to witness themselves from themselves. Another way I sometimes say it is they can't separate themselves from their ego. They're gone from our show within 30 seconds because it doesn't compute.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm but what I'm curious about is what you just said earlier, which is connecting. So because I believe this, and I could be, and I'm willing to be wrong about it, but I think I'm right. But I want to check it out with you.
You do have that habit, don't you?
Yes, I do. But I want to check it out with you.
It's very endearing.
So when I'm connected to myself, okay, when I'm connected to myself, like really truly to my heart, and to you, and to her, and to everybody, and to the viewers, when I'm connected, then is it true that my body is rejuvenating itself because I'm connected? And when I'm disconnected, meaning that I'm allowing myself to have my ego run me, then I'm disconnected, and now my body is no longer regenerating itself. It's doing the opposite of it.
That's interesting, and I really like the beginning part of your question that we didn't really address before we jumped into the second part.
It happens on the
Do
show.
people need to be awake and conscious first?
Right.
Maybe if we allow ourselves and focus only on if we are awake or conscious, then our sharing is a part of allowing that person and supporting them in them becoming awake and conscious.
So that's like seeing someone in their best self. And when we experience that and only see someone in their best self, even if they can never see it, then we are already initiating that process with them.
Because people will
Yes.
rise
Of course they will.
to meet your highest expectations.
Sure they will.
Good one. Yeah.
So you were saying, though, that when someone's born, they are their higher self. And it's almost like a socialization process that we continue to allow them to be that, or they choose to be that and we allow that process. Or in fact, we drill it out of them by thinking that, it has to be done this way because our parents did it that way.
I think there's a combination of at least two things here. A, I think left on our own, we might be at our highest when we first appear here on the planet. Howsoever, I think we're also here to learn how to access yet a fuller existence here on the planet. It's as if we come in here, we leave that truth or understanding, we have a choice to stay functioning there or to access more, or to reconnect, and then we find we're at a new level altogether. So it's two things, at least.
Yeah, and what I want to relate it to is that, we hang around a lot of people that are conscious and awake, but their biggest challenge, including myself, is how do we make this work in a world that's the opposite of it?
Stop focusing on the world.
Yeah, that's none of your business.
Focus one-on-one. Can you and I share an intimate interaction, which therefore allows me to participate in facilitating or supporting your healing and evolution, which therefore allows me to, and you, to participate in allowing me to evolve yet to a next level of healing or evolution. And as we do that, then we vibrate at a higher light, so we go out to our professions, be it a journalist, be it a supermarket cashier, and just our choice to smile a certain way at a customer as they come through. We share this consciousness. People, then this person interacts with their children differently, or their parents differently.
That's just unconditional love.
And yes, but there are levels at which we vibrate with the same unconditional love, but if we're vibrating in a higher level or a higher level of light, then we're sharing more with it. So when we consciously interact with healing, when we not so consciously interact with the healing and the evolution, we start making better relationships, making better choices in government. Those of us in government start making better decisions. Soon the world becomes green. Soon we look back on war as a temporary state of barbarism that we passed through, how utterly ridiculous it is for young men and women to go out and lose their lives fighting the political battles of older men and women, how it is never, with a capital N, excusable to strap on a bomb belt and go into a crowd of people and blow up. It's just not excusable. And we start understanding that. Our children start saying, really? Did people really used to try to swallow poisons to get healthy? We start going through these changes because the way the world is right now, what we're really seeing is we're looking into a mirror. And if we don't like what's going on in the mirror, a new mirror will not show us something else. Our mirror is probably not broken. But if we change who we are reflecting into the mirror, we can't fix the reflection. We can only fix who we are.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So, Dr. Eric, you're in your car, and you're on the highway, and you look to the left, and the guy in the car is doing this. What's your response? It's a great
Probably
smile.
Curiosity. Really, probably curiosity. I wonder why. I would immediately go, did I do something inadvertently that might have bothered this person? That would be my initial response.
Okay.
I would probably quickly play back a videotape of what I was doing within the past, 30 seconds or something on the road. I wouldn't. I wouldn't turn around and go, well, flip them the bird in exchange.
Okay.
Not that I'm above that, not that there haven't been situations when that finger has popped up. Not that there might not be in the future. We're here to live life. Has yours ever?
Oh, yeah. I
Well,
just did it.
there it goes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
But when we are connected to ourselves and not in that ego place, we tend not to react. We tend to respond, which is different than reacting. And I think that there are all kinds of responses that we could choose.
Well, that is a reaction. When people do
Yeah.
that is a reaction. And all I can do is just appreciate whatever situation they happen to be in. I wouldn't even be thinking about me. I would just go, wow.
I wonder what's going on with their life.
What's going on, so that they can't really manage, because that's really, for me, that shows up like they're not able to manage themselves, their emotions, what's going on or what's going on in
I
their
think I
lives.
would go there also.
Yeah, and I would just go like, send them love. I mean, what else can I do? I mean, I could also flip him.
You
off,
can go
but,
nice finger, buddy.
Yeah, I could do that, but that's not gonna, that's not gonna help the situation. And I feel that this is how sometimes war are started because two people are talking. Maybe it could be. I mean, because I grew up in a communist country, I have thought about this many times because they were constantly brainwashing us that, oh my God, the West have atomic bombs, and we know that Russia is about to have it, and the next thing that's going to happen is the two presidents are going to be talking,
right,
and they're going to get pissed off at each other, and somebody's going to press the button.
But meanwhile, verbally, they've been flipping the bird at one another for a long time, and there's still no excuse to press the button. And I've got a reason for this, for saying that, because I remember, we tend to view things from such a personal perspective, and then we come up with what sounds beautiful within the confines of our limited personal perspective. For instance, I was driving behind a car, and there was a bumper sticker that said, "There's never an excuse to hit a woman." And it sounds lovely if you only allow yourself to think this big. But if you allow yourself an expanded consciousness, you realize that bumper sticker should say, "There's never an excuse to hit another person." And I remember reading that one person had flipped the finger to another person, and the other person hit them. And the person who hit them first was not the person convicted of causing the situation. This was considered to be the cause of it. Well, I still say there's never an excuse to hit another person, and this is not an excuse to hit another person.
Yeah, I agree.
What's really interesting is when you talk about the finger, what resonates for me is you're talking about learned behavior that moves us away from that conscious connection that
Thanks
we have.
for jumping in from New York, because the finger goes up a lot in New York. I think.
The thing in New York, you see a lot of fingers here. I got out of a taxi
It's the state bird.
It's the state bird. I was trying to get out of a cab, and the lady that was going to get in the cab was screaming at the driver because he was doing something illegal, apparently. So he gave her the finger, and they gave each other the finger, and I got out, drove off. But I can't help thinking when you talk about things like the finger, or as we grow up away from our childhood, right? That we're growing away from that collective consciousness that we have, that exists when we're born, as the doctor was saying earlier, and that seems to reappear before the time of death. And, what I find really interesting is that many years ago, about 20 years ago, a little experiment that I used to do is I used to ask children, what were you when you were big? And I would do it with 2- and 3-year-olds, and the answers I would get were quite amazing. They would tell me who they were and what they were doing, and I thought this was, it was a funny sort of game. And I started asking friends and relatives to ask other children, and they would come back to me and say, "Tori, what kind of game is this?" Because my son or my daughter or my cousin or my nephew came back with an answer that they lived in a such and such place, they were such and such thing, and they did such and such a job. And it's like they are connected at that point in their lives where we lose it. We learn how to give a finger when we get to be 25 years old. And then we give up the finger again when we're in our 80s and 90s and we're about to pass. I think we connect again.
If you learned at 25, I think you're a bit of a slow learner.
Yes.
But let's go back to that consciousness of talking with children about what they remember. Reconnective healing is not a healing technique. The world does not need another healing technique. We don't need to learn that we have to move this in a clockwise direction and that counterclockwise. We have to bring this north, bring this east or west. We don't need to use this symbol or that symbol. We don't need another technique. What we need to do is to transcend the techniques. The true gift of the technique comes in its transcendence. This is not an easy thing for a lot of people. they come in and they say, well, I've got my certificate here and this and that. I've got my certificate for my 3rd week of Reiki that says I'm now a master in Reiki. I am sorry, you cannot buy being a master. You can't purchase mastery. On top of which, no true master would allow the word master to be placed in front of their name to begin with. We have healing techniques taught by masters so-and-so. I'm sorry. The fact that you allow yourself to be called master so-and-so shows us you're not a master. But we hold on to, I've got my certificates, I've learned my techniques. Our ego, our investment, our judgment wants that. Reconnective healing is a way to transcend this. We teach it over 2.5 days. But we teach children in 2.5 hours. Because children don't come in with the attachment to having been, to be right, with the attachment of judgment, of saying, I've got my certificates of knowing, without the fear-based, they don't come in with the fear-based rituals where they think that there's some kind of negative energy from the healing that they've got to shake off and spray off. They don't come in with these misconceptions. You know, we view our children as empty vessels placed here on the planet for us to fill with everything that we know. And maybe it's time today for us to start looking at our children as if they're empty vessels placed here on the planet for us to learn how to become empty vessels once again. And I believe that when we take that perspective with children, it's our first step in taking that perspective with adults, not looking at them in any way other than allowing ourselves to see the purity of their essence. And when we can start to allow ourselves to see the purity of their essence, we can see our own. And as we allow ourselves to see our own, we can see more of theirs, and it will become an expansive cycle. We haven't necessarily been looking where it served us best to be looking.
So what if I said everything that you knew was wrong? Then what?
I would want to hear your perspective on what I'm not seeing and recognizing.
Awesome. So that where that takes me to is our ability and our willingness to be open. None of this is possible, right? Any of this work that you're talking about is not possible unless we are willing to be open.
Open, non-judgmental, to be the witness and the witness, the seer and the seen, the observer and the observed, and to be willing to observe without judgment. You know, in the healing world, we focus on results. It's time for us to learn to focus on being in the process. Maybe we receive the results we're looking for. Maybe we receive results we haven't even dreamed of. Maybe we receive results we don't recognize, but to learn to step back 3 feet or 3 yards and look at the larger picture for the insight. We judge the healing as being good or bad depending upon receiving a desired result. And I think it's time for us today to recognize that the true role of the healer, the complete role of the healer, is to open a door. The role of the recipient of the healing is to have the courage to choose to step through that door. Those are 2 different things. Courage, which means we have to walk through our fears, and choice. And when we as healers don't feel complete in opening the door, we open the door with our left hand and we try and shove them through with our right hand. We cheat them out of A, discovering, stepping into their own bravery, their own courage. B, choosing their healing, and we cheat ourselves out of the honor and the privilege of witnessing the perfect coordination and orchestration of, call it God, call it love, call it the intelligence of the universe, pick whatever word makes you happiest. I don't think God cares if we call it Helen, you know. We argue about it, but, you know, that's us. And once we allow ourselves to witness this phenomenal orchestration of the healings, then our knowingness of expanded potential is something we carry into the next healing session that we facilitate. The next person receives even more. When we don't allow ourselves to witness, the next people receive less, because in our seeing lies our knowingness. In our knowingness lies our expanded ability to see even more. And in the two of them cycling lies our mastery. When we witness the perfect orchestration of the healings, we no longer exist in fear. We no longer feel we've got to protect ourselves in a white flame, a purple flame, a gold flame, pull up imaginary zippers, shake off negative energy. I mean, if there's any residue from the healing process, which is all we seem to be afraid of anyway, left over on us from the healing process, it's the beauty and the perfection of the healing process itself, much like when you climb out of bed from that one special person in your life, maybe whether you've been embraced or you just allow your leg to drape over theirs and know that each other is present, and you experience that love with them, and maybe you get up an hour before they do and go downstairs quietly to do some work on your own, and you reach across the counter to pick something up and you breathe in. And you take in the scent, the beautiful scent of their skin still on yours. And you re-experience that love you've been enveloped in all night long. And tell me, do you really feel like reaching for a spray bottle of alcohol to get rid of it? Let us let go of these fear-based approaches to healing. Let us let go of the techniques, the rituals. Everything we do, every choice we make, every action we take comes either from fear, lack, limitation, the illusion of separation, the illusion of darkness, or it comes from love, oneness, unity, light, prosperity, and abundance. And we cannot give a gift we're unwilling to accept or receive ourselves. We cannot stand in fear, protecting ourselves in flames and with symbols and with other things, and facilitate healings that reside in love. We can't stand in lack and limitation, trying to add things to ourselves, special healing necklaces and pyramid hats and things to make ourselves more, because we're announcing to the universe we are less. We have to step into the knowingness that we are more than abundantly enough. We can't stand in the need for control, doing step ABC in technique 1, 2, 3, and facilitate healings that reside in the freedom of allowing ourselves to witness and observe. And at some point in time, we need not scold ourselves for where we've been, because where we've been has been a perfect step leading to now. The teachers who are taking our money, selling us these ridiculous healing gadgets and things are not bad. When we leave this lifetime and we show up where we all come from, where we all return to, and we see them, we will embrace them and thank them and love them and say, thank you so very much for doing your job to such a degree of perfection. You knew exactly how to get me to a point of fear that I needed to get to, where I finally went, I don't have to do this any longer. I can reclaim my power. I can step back into my love, because fear and love are viewed on one level as opposites, but at another level they're not. Not opposites. Right. They're interrelated. To me, fear is the fear of not being loved, which translates into fear is the fear of not being loved, which translates into fear is the fear of not existing.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Pearl, when you talked about what's on the other side of that door, it made me think about experience that I had when my son was about 3 years old, and I would hear him day after day in the basement early in the morning talking to a number of people. He was having a clear conversation, and this went on for quite a long time. We talked about it when he was older, and he told me about individuals that he would communicate with at that time. And then, of course, as he got older, that stopped and it went away. But it makes me think about the consciousness of a child and what potentially they see on the other side of the door. My question to you, Doctor, is as an adult, what do you experience on the other side of the door as a conscious adult human being with the understanding of being an adult, compared to a child who's just open-minded and is not thinking about what it is that they're experiencing in that time?
Well, my first question is, do you think that your son stopped talking to those people because of any reason other than the fact that others around him responded in a certain way that caused him embarrassment, and he had to turn that off.
Absolutely, there's no question that over a period of time, being questioned, why are you talking to, who are you talking to, brought an awareness of maybe I'm not supposed to be opening this door.
Exactly, that's my point. That's my point exactly. And you know, I think this is a phenomenal topic, and what we do with reconnective healing is we do step into a greater consciousness that comes from observation. You know, there's so many points to touch on. The book about this is called The Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself, because it's in the process of healing others that we heal ourselves. In the process of healing ourselves, we allow ourselves to heal others. It's a transformation that takes place. For instance, when we teach the healing seminars, it's a 3-day weekend. We do a 3-hour presentation on a Friday night, where we're doing one, as a matter of fact, right here in Denver this weekend. We talk about the history of the work, the theory, the philosophy, the science. We bring up volunteers from the audience and give live demonstrations of the healing so you can witness the reality yourself, maybe even on someone that you know, maybe even on you. And we allow everyone to feel this in their hands because it's very, very, very clearly real. But Saturday and Sunday of the weekend is very different. It's a real working seminar, which means don't come. And I mean it, don't come if you think we're all going to sit around, hold hands, om, sing Kumbaya, my Lord, burn incense, wave crystals in the air. It won't happen. We demonstrate clearly a level of healing from the stage, how it works, and we all go to massage tables. One person, you might stand at the head of a massage table, someone else lie down on the massage table. The teaching team and I will walk around to each of the tables. We'll take your hands. We will show you how to find this. We will show you how to feel it. We will show you how to play with it, and you will witness right before your very eyes the person who's lying on your table go into involuntary movements of their fingers or their feet. We'll show you how to access a different part of it. You'll see their arms jerk, their legs jerk. We'll go back to our chairs. We'll talk about what we learned, discuss some philosophy, demonstrate a new level of the healing, go back to the tables again. And we'll continue this way throughout the weekend. And by the end of one weekend, because we're not learning knowledge, we're stepping into a state of knowingness, which is very simple, very comprehensive. So in one weekend, not 6 years or 3 months or 2 weeks, one weekend. By the end of this weekend, I can pretty much make you 2 promises. 1, you will be able to do anything and everything in the way of healing that I can do. You absolutely will. And B, you will be able to do anything and everything in the way of healing that any human being on this planet can do, no matter their lineage, no matter whether they were raised in a cave by monks and fed individually blessed seeds, each from its own llama and flown in the beak of its own little chakra-colored bird. It doesn't matter the story. Today it's really about 2 things. It's about demystifying the healing process and transcending the techniques, removing the training wheels. And really, the gift is that this allows us to transcend the techniques to facilitate healings that are far more comprehensive, far more instantaneous, and tend to be lifelong. The challenge is whether or not we're willing to transcend the techniques. Or we could say the gift is that this allows us to demystify the healing process, and the challenge is whether or not we're willing to allow the healing process to be demystified. And if we're not willing to transcend our techniques to bring about more, we need to ask ourselves why. If we're not willing to allow the healing process to become clear and transparent and demystified for everyone, we need to ask ourselves why. And if we're not willing to ask ourselves why, we need to ask ourselves why we're not willing to ask ourselves why, because it is within the willingness to honestly ask and explore that question within each and every one of us that lies our mastery. Not that I have an opinion on the subject.
Would you be willing to do a demonstration now?
Sure.
I'm here.
You want to feel it, is what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. The table's a little distancing, but we can try. Give me one hand. Just hold it. You don't need to reach across. Just let me see. Just go like this a little bit. Open your fingers. Hold them there. I'm going to bring my hand in. See what your fingers are doing? I'm going to stretch this feeling. Sorry. I'll try to
No,
keep
you're
your nose
good.
on your face.
Okay.
And I'm going to come in here. My hand floats. It just floats. If I push it down, it bobs back up again. Notice how, for instance, your ring finger is not just moving in and out, but it's moving up and down in a vertical plane, which is not a normal, natural way in which we move. When I'm doing this, you either feel nothing or you feel something. You tell me.
Oh, I feel something.
Can you describe it?
A little buzz.
A little buzz. You can get that from a good drink.
But
Does it stay the same? Does it change?
I'm not drinking. Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Now what?
I feel, wow, my arm is feeling heavy right now.
Okay, we're moving to a different plane
Maybe because
of
of
this,
it.
but I'm watching the feedback and the fingers. Now, let's watch how it responds differently. So, Jamie, let's hear. Open your fingers for me. Just like that, perfect. Fingers are still. I'm coming in with my hand. I allow my hand to begin to float. I feel for a sensation. I'm not sending. I'm listening. I'm listening with a different sense. Jamie's movements of her fingers are much more tiny. They're microfine. There it goes. Did you see the middle of the finger just jerk by itself? And then the ring finger might begin to pull. And Jamie, when I do this, you either feel nothing or you feel something. So you tell me. It's all right if it's nothing. It's all right if it's something. It's just not all right if you don't answer us on television.
No, I do. I feel tingling.
A tingling in there. Okay, now this obviously is not an effective blood flow because your hand hasn't been held in the air long enough to go into tingling or numbness or something. It's not resting on the table, so it's not nervous conduction. It's not a change in circulation, but it's a response. Is it the same in one hand as the other? Let's find out. Here it's the index finger that responds. If it responds, it doesn't show a lot on camera because there's small movements. But what I'm curious about is the sensation the same?
No,
Or
it's
it's
not
different.
the same. It's different.
How is it different?
I feel heat on this hand and
Okay.
not tingling.
So you're feeling heat. I'm obviously too far away from you to be holding in your body heat.
No.
So if I'm casting off heat, my
No,
fingers
it's
would have to be
energy.
pretty warm, right?
Yeah.
But my fingers are cool,
Cold.
aren't they?
Uh-huh.
So what we know, one of the things we know about reconnective healing is that it creates heat from coolness and coolness from heat, but also heat from heat and coolness from coolness. It seems to, the way it's reported or explained is that it seems to turn the laws of quantum physics upside down and inside out, as we best know them, but of course we don't know all the laws of quantum physics yet.
Yeah, amazing. Very good. Well, thank you.
Doctor, are you tapping into the quantum field with this type of work?
You know, a lot of people will adamantly say, here's the research that I've done, and reconnective healing is firmly quantum physics based.
Right.
And that's a lie. It's based in truth. Quantum physics is just one of the ways that we allow ourselves to try to interpret or explain what we're seeing. See, we confuse absence of proof with proof of absence. We feel that if science hasn't confirmed something, it can't be true. And we forget the fact that everything has to exist before science discovers it, or science would have nothing to discover.
Okay, great. So we're on a live show, and our conscious hour is actually over. And this is one of the ways I actually prove to the viewers that consciousness has no time. Because when people think about their experience of what this hour has been, for me, it seems like it's been less than 10 minutes.
For me also.
Yeah. So I want to thank you very much, Dr. Earthborough, for being here. This is a treat, and I'm sure it's a treat for all of our viewers as well. And I want to thank you, Jamie, for being here, and everybody here in the studio, as well as both of our cast members, and that story, as well as Lynda. Thank you for being here. And also, I want to make sure that if there's anything that any of us did here today, touched, moved, and inspired you, especially whatever you've done, go to our website at livingconsciously.tv and interact with us and leave us some comments and ask some questions. And I'm looking forward to being with you the entire weekend. So is Jamie, I'm sure. Again, thank you for being here. And until next time, we'll see you again soon on the Living Consciously TV show. Thank you all, and I love you.